It's time to take a ride on the Steelers Afternoon Drive with our co-hosts Alan Saunders and Zachary Smith.
Get in the van. We're going for our Steelers Afternoon Drive. I'm Zachary Smith. That is Alan Saunders. We prefaced already by saying that we'd be at a similar time and knew that it was going to be dark out once again for Alan's drive here. So more of an evening drive. But Alan, how we doing?
I'm doing good. I'm not as frustrated as I was yesterday. I got to vent a little bit this morning. Felt like we had a little zen morning rush. I wrote a 2,200-word column, which always gets, you get most of the anger after that. And I just had a good day today. I don't know why. Everything's going good.
That's good. Oh, we're getting towards the end of the week. Friday is always super fun when we bring DB into the fold. That's preview and predictions. We got one more before we get there, and we'll talk about what happened today. I'm not going to lie. We were talking about this right before we started recording, and you asked me if I watched the morning rush, and I said yes. I try to all the time when I'm working at some point, but half the reason being that roller coaster was in the title, and not that long ago I caught a ricochet shot during the episode. I was like, he definitely mentioned something about me not being tall enough to ride the roller coaster, right? Didn't happen. I was surprised.
It did not happen. I'm now a little upset that I didn't. Also, two other things here. One, the roller coaster pictured the steel, what's it called? Steel curtain at Kennywood. Yeah. Fantastic roller coaster. Love that. You should ride that roller coaster, not the metaphorical one that I was describing. And also, you know who else isn't tall enough to ride the roller coaster that I just learned? Pittsburgh's new mayor, Corey O'Connor, who won election as mayor on Tuesday night. There was a picture of him with Ed Gainey. Now, I'd never met the new mayor. I'd met Mayor Gainey several times. He's about my size. He's a bigger guy, but he's not gigantic. There's a picture of him and Gainey together. Corey O'Connor's like 5 foot flat, maybe, on a good day, with lifts. He's a tiny man. I did not know that. So we have
kind of looks like Kyle Dubas.
He looks like 3/4 scale Kyle Dubas. Yeah. We have a short king as mayor, and you should ride the roller coaster at Kennywood. I do not know if Smitty is tall enough to ride it, but I believe you are. I will say this. The last time I was on it, which was not that long ago, there was a guy about my size who could not get the bar locked in. Like, it is not really. I think you're much more in danger of being too tall to ride that than too short.
Yeah, fair. Also, I mean, I don't know how it's been recently, but I've probably been to Kennywood 3 or 4 times since it got put. I think I'm like 2 and 2 with it actually being functioning at the time.
Yeah, you're probably ahead of the curve there at that ratio also, because it seems like it's closed more than it's open.
Which is still at 50% above the McDonald's ice cream machine working. So, all right, this has nothing to do with football at this point. Let's try to get back on track here. We know that Thursday is coordinator day, but we always start talking about the injury reports, and still some guys on DNP that might work their way back at some point this week. We were curious if they would. That is Cole Holcomb dealing with that illness. Jabril Peppers dealing with that quad. Isaac Seumalo re-injured that pec and, hasn't been obviously rolled out for this game or anything yet, but we'll see there. Connor Hayward added to the injury report today with a knee as a DNP. Good news on that front. Alex Highsmith returns in some capacity, limited participant today, and Darnell Washington, who we talked about with a foot, was a full participant. So, there's some obviously bad news sprinkled in there, but there's 2 big names, Alex Highsmith, Darnell Washington, both back in some capacity. It's obviously very good news.
Yeah, and I saw there's videos of Highsmith practicing up on the channel. Also, Scotty Miller, who was listed as DNP, but was definitely at practice today. He didn't do very much, just running routes and not even getting the ball thrown to him because he still has it's his pinky finger on his left hand, but in a much smaller splint than the big brace he had before. So definitely some progress for Scotty Miller. Alex Highsmith looks fine. He'll be fine. He's going to play. The team put DeMarvin Leal on waivers today, so that should definitely tell you that Alex Highsmith is going to play as they go back to just 4 edge rushers on the roster. And Isaac Seumalo did this last week, DNP, LP, and played, but then he was only able to play for a half. I don't know what the game plan is here. I don't know if at some point he's going to need to rest to really recover, or if he can keep trying to gut it out. Remember, he came back after the injury against Green Bay as well before being ruled out. So I've not gotten the sense that he's far away from being able to play, but you got to practice at least a little bit. We'll see tomorrow. Spencer Anderson, of course, will start at left guard if Isaac can't go, and that's a blow to the jumbo package if Anderson is in there. Haven't figured out what the plan B would be for that if he's having to play left guard. Probably Andrews Pete at guard and Spencer moves out, or either Ryan McCollum or Calvin Anderson replacing him as the extra tight end.
Random question, not regarding the Steelers, but regarding Scotty Miller. I know that you brought up how funny his son was running around at training camp and stuff, called him Little Scoot. Is his name also Scotty, and that's why he's called that, or no, just because his dad's name's Scotty?
I think his son is also Scotty. I'm not 100% on that one. And of course, he had another kid this training camp as well.
Mm-hmm.
So Scotty.
Well,
Scotty,
the one that we're talking about, though,
right.
He's always hilarious on the field post game. Like, he always just wants to, like, race people. Like, he just goes up to random people, and he's like, I bet I'm faster than you. And just, like, wants to start running around. So he's hilarious. All right, so, yeah, good news, some bad news. What do we make any further? I don't know if you asked anybody, or, that's probably a weird question to ask. But we didn't see that the illness thing is spread as much as we thought that it might potentially. Any idea what type of illness was going around with a couple of guys, though? And obviously Cole Holcomb still isn't back yet from it.
Yeah, no real word here. I saw Cole last Thursday, the first day he missed practice.
Okay.
He was walking around, so I didn't know he was going to miss practice when I saw him before after walkthrough. So I don't know. Like you said, it's an awkward ask.
Yeah, right.
And I guess at some point we'll probably have to find a way to ask Mike Tomlin if it persists. But there are not a whole lot of two-week illnesses out there. Like, at this point, almost has to be something semi-serious. So we'll see what happens there. Was there any other Peppers?
Peppers
would be surprised if he's back, still out with that quad. And then Hayward. Oh, yeah, Connor, I saw him after practice. I watched a little bit of practice. I have to admit, I didn't notice that he wasn't out there. And so, but I saw him in the locker room after practice, and he looked fine. So, it's not like an ACL or something where he's like not walking around. We'll see what the deal is with his. It's listed as a knee injury, and whether he's able to play. That would really be a big. If you're missing Spencer Anderson and Connor Hayward, now you're really talking about a significant part of their ability to play multiple tight ends at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Matt Sokol is on the practice squad. I guess he would be potentially in line to get called up there.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we will. We'll see when we get there. Like I said, the other thing that takes place on Thursdays that we know is the coordinators talking. I guess we could start with Artie. You just mentioned tight end there. He brought up talking about Darnell a little bit there. Obviously, when you have DK getting as much attention as he did in this one, he only had 2 receptions for 6 yards against the Colts. It opens up some opportunity for some guys. Darnell tied a career high with receptions in that one. So talked about that obviously a little bit. And Aaron's been talking Darnell up for quite some time. We obviously know what he can do as a run blocker, but he is doing more in between the 20s as a receiver in terms of the volume that I would have expected. Not that it's like some crazy volume, but more than I expected at least.
Yeah, Arthur Smith brought him up, and we'll talk about the connection here in a minute. But he makes is not able to make what would have been a fairly tough catch in the end zone on the opening drive. It did hit him in the hands, but there was a defender kind of draped all over him. Would have been a tough catch. And then the second play, the fourth down, he just doesn't get his head around in time, and Aaron just smacks the ball right off his hand. And that's a bad start to a game for a guy to end up with a career high. And Arthur Smith was talking about it. They're not going to give up on guys who make mistakes. And I think we've actually seen that over and over again from Aaron that when a guy makes a drop or something, that he very frequently will try to go right back to him and try to get him re-engaged. I think it's one of the things that makes him a really good wide receiver, or I'm sorry, really good quarterback in terms of managing wide receivers. If you think about those Green Bay teams, he always had what seemed like a whole stable of receiving options, whether it was, Randall Cobb and Jordy Nelson and MVS and Lazard and Devontae Adams. And it just seemed like there was always a pile of guys that were potential targets. And he always seemed to find a way to keep everybody happy. It seems like that's happening in Pittsburgh. And so that's notable. Darnell Washington. And then, of course, the reason that Artie brings that up is he's asked about Roman Wilson and his sort of, I think somebody called it boneheaded play to jump at the end of the game and fumble. And Artie Smith said, we trust him. We're going to go back to him. It has to be a learning opportunity. And he actually said that they had said something to Roman about it after he did something similar against the Bengals. And he said, it's kind of my fault because we saw it and we should have made sure it never happened again after the first time. And so doesn't sound like they're ready to shovel dirt on Roman Wilson. I actually think they're still pretty high on Roman Wilson, even though he doesn't get very many opportunities.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, high enough that they didn't feel the need to make some type of panic move at the trade deadline to ensure that he wouldn't have to see the field at the very least. So, but I think it's just so interesting because you brought up Aaron's ability, like in the trust to go back to guys in the Darnell situation. And then, I'm curious, how do they come out right away against the Chargers? Roman Wilson, maybe get him on the field and give him the first target just to see what he does with it. How's he going to respond to this week after that fumble? I'm not saying that that's what's going to happen, but I'd be curious if they did that. So, I mean, Aaron's had a knack for doing that throughout his career. After Artie saying that, I'll be curious to see how a guy like that responds. And you mentioned, obviously, with Calvin getting back into the fold, not like he's playing a ton, but we'll see. We'll see. On the flip side of that, somebody we saw make their Steelers debut was Kyle Duggar, and obviously certainly answered the bell in a big way with the way that he played and played all but one snap in that game. TA talked about him and simplifying things. We talked about how, maybe a bit easier of a transition for him than some other guys that you could plug in here just because of the similarities to what this defense does as opposed, along with the Belichick and Gerard Mayo defenses that he had played in. What did TA have to say about it, though?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people are trying to run with this idea that the Steelers simplified things on defense, maybe in reaction to having to have Duggar in there, but that is some kind of, magic bullet, some kind of answer to their previous problems. And, I brought up to TA, and we've talked on here a bit. I mean, he's had lots of those games. I think I mentioned it on Twitter on Friday. Mm-hmm. Eric Rowe off the couch into a 3-game winning streak. The game against Tampa in 2022 as we play our game here, cornerback Josh Jackson, number 16, is something that we definitely need to keep in the brains. But he started that game along with James Pierre and, nobody at quarterback for the other team. And how do you win that game? And so, listen, Teryl Austin has not performed well enough this year with the talent he has on this defense. I do think he is really good in those situations of finding that simple game plan that'll work. And, I think the hang up has been being able to get defenses to grow from there and become well-rounded and complex when you have your full complement of personnel. And they've never gotten there this year. And they've struggled to get there, I think, in years past at times. And I'm interested in some of the schematic changes that were made, in addition to just being a little bit simpler. But, simple isn't going to get it done. I mean, Jim Harbaugh is going to watch the tape from that game and be like, oh, So they ran a bunch of cover 2. Great. Kamani Vidal, you're getting 30 carries in this game, buddy. Like, we got an answer for that. I don't know what Shane Steichen was thinking. It's not like they're doing stuff. It's not like they're so good at what they were doing that was simple that they can just roll the ball out there and keep doing it simple. Like, they've got to grow from that, or people are just going to figure it out and take advantage.
Yeah. I was sitting here thinking back as you were talking there about all the examples of I swear to God, there's like one game a year where something happens with the secondary like that. Even in 21, there was a game that Joe Hayden missed because of COVID, and it was like basically the same thing where they had like nobody playing corner and got the job done. Yeah, I mean, looking at this, I know that people made a lot of like the one thing too, the drastic difference with the amount of blitzes that they sent in this one. That's obviously something that they could continue to do. I mean, I guess that's something maybe more to bring up tomorrow, but we can start right now on that. Is that something that should be on the table against this offense? Justin Herbert, you look at the offensive line right now. They just lost Joe Alt, as well as they already lost Rashawn Slater. Like, should they just try to get home with 4 again and have that blitz rate be lower like they did this past week? Or where's your thought with that?
Whatever they think is going to stop the run, I think I would have another guy in the box, though. I don't think I'd be playing a lot of too high against this team. I mean, there's one deep threat. Quentin Johnston is the only guy that you should feel like you can't cover with one guy all the time. And so what's the point of the second high safety at that? Who are you guarding with your second high safety against 34-year-old Keenan Allen, Aronde Gadsden? Who's even the third receiver? I don't even know.
Well,
nope.
Ladd McConkey.
Palmer, Ladd. Yeah, I guess Ladd is an issue in the intermediate area.
Yeah.
But he's not a deep threat. He's not going to take the top off you. I don't think you need a deep safety to do.
Well, no, he's like Keenan Allen again, just way younger.
Yes. And so,
it's crazy that Quentin Johnston's actually a viable receiver now, by the way. Like, he was so bad early in his career.
I have him on my fantasy team, on my one where you keep
like Dynasty
forever.
or
okay. Dynasty, and I kept him the whole I had him in college, and I kept him the whole
time. I guess you deserve the fruits of the labor now then for sticking with him. But
there were many, many times where I contemplated cutting him.
Mm-hmm.
But I stuck through. I'm a believer in the talent there. But here's the thing: they have no tackles. That's the other part of it. It's like, how often are they really going to feel comfortable attacking the Steelers down the field? Like, I just can't imagine it. This feels like a back to cover 1, cover 3 kind of game for the Steelers, just because I don't think that what the Chargers are going to do is going to require cover 2.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll dive more into, the schematic stuff and previewing and predicting tomorrow when DB's on here. You mentioned something at the beginning to me, though, when you were talking about the column that you put out there in over 2,000 words. Maybe dive into that a little bit here in audio and video form.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I wrote anything in that column, which is at the top of the site at SteelersNow.com if you want to go check it out. I just, we spent the last 2 days really after the enormous blowback of the trade deadline talking about why the Steelers are not all in on this season, haven't ever been, and weren't ever going to be. And I feel like that was something that a lot of people had a really hard time understanding and believing when I was saying it. I did my whole morning rush yesterday, basically, on that topic. And I didn't feel like, for whatever reason, and I had a lot of questions on Twitter. Like, I put out a long tweet to the link to that episode, and basically said, you guys should have known this. And there were a lot of responses that people did not. So I felt like I wanted to kind of just start at the beginning, started 2021. Okay, this is the start of a rebuild. You lose Ben Roethlisberger. You got to find the next quarterback. There's missteps. Here's where they are, what the plan always was, where they're headed. And I don't know. I felt like I needed to put it all in one place.
Mm-hmm. Well, no, I mean, I think so as well. I just, from conversations with fans, like I get it, because when you see the names they went out and got this offseason, I think that that's probably the biggest thing. And when you hear the way that maybe the conversation is taking place on a national level regarding this team and the moves that they made and how different it was from past off seasons, I could understand why some fans maybe then subscribe to the idea that this team is going all in. Not that I agree with it, but I could see why that narrative being spun to them makes them feel that way.
Well, I'll tell you the other thing that honestly I kind of opened my own eyes to while writing this is that, like, I get a good, not a lot, not the majority, but I get a good number of people in my mentions complaining a lot, like saying, like, not only like complaining about specific moves, but saying like Omar Khan is bad. Omar Khan has been awful. Like, I get to me a very surprising number there, because I think he's been fantastic as Steelers general manager, and it kind of clicked for me while I was writing it. I was like, well, if you think this is his best effort and that he's trying his hardest to win a Super Bowl this year, of course you think he sucks, because this is a terrible effort at it. I mean, of course, like, he went into the season with one wide receiver, a whole bunch of cap space, didn't restructure any contracts, traded away Minkah Fitzpatrick when Miami would have rather had draft picks, traded away George Pickens for draft capital. Like, none of those things are things you do when you're trying to prioritize winning in the next season over the future. But if you thought that's what they were doing, then yeah, he's doing a really bad job of it. But that's not what they're doing. And so that actually kind of clicked for me that, like, I think a lot of these people who were criticizing Omar Khan were simply not understanding what the team was even trying to do.
100%. I mean, so fair or not to him, I've kind of been like, and still am doing the waiting till we see about the quarterback. Who are we going to go get? Is that guy going to pan out? Because that is ultimately going to be what determines this. But the one thing that I will say is I feel like it still is flying under the radar, the growth that we're seeing from this offensive line right now. I think they're playing like a top dozen unit, which we were hopeful for would happen by the end of the season. And if it's happening right now and they can play even better from this point forward, to me, that this season's a win just based off that. Like, don't get me wrong, still obviously want to get to the playoffs, win as many games as possible. That was the biggest thing for me about what took place in the 2025 season, so that I could feel better about dropping that future quarterback behind.
I was researching this article and I went back and read my season preview for this year. And in my season preview, I wrote, there are two theories being put to the test in this season. One is, can you win with the most expensive defense in the league? And two, will the investment in the offensive line actually pay off? I think the first one looks really questionable right now, but the second one looks awesome. I don't know how you can't be super encouraged by the play of the offensive line this year. It continued to get better. Troy Fautano looks fantastic. From Frazier to the right, those are the guys. I won't hear any criticism or anything. Like, those are the guys for sure. And they sort of maybe found an answer left guard, like out of nowhere, kind of. Like, if that happens too. Like that's such a,
without having to invest another pick into it. That was something that we talked about would be on the table this offseason.
Yeah. Like, if that happens too, can you imagine? Like, if we come out of the season saying the Steelers have their starting 5 offensive linemen for the next decade, like, that is the best possible thing. Like, that's actually better than I might have even thought was possible at the beginning of the season in terms of outcomes for this team this year.
Yeah. No, I mean, it 100% is. I thought best case scenario would obviously be like the 4, but felt pretty good. Felt pretty good about it being 3. Thought there was a shot it would only be 2. So like, if you're talking about all 5 being answered going into 2026, I'm very excited about, and again, more encouraged about the idea of dropping a young quarterback behind it.
Yeah, absolutely. The other thing that I think has people a little bit thrown off about what I wrote is that I think a lot of people heard the names of this quarterback class over the offseason.
Yeah.
And some of those names have not played as well as people thought. And those people just assumed that means the quarterback class is now bad because Drew Aller hasn't panned out to be a top 5 pick, because it doesn't look like Arch Manning is going to come out, because some of these other guys have not performed at that level. Cade Klubnik is having just a very so-so year. But there have been other guys that have taken up the mantle that have equally and easily replaced what those guys were hoped to be. So it hasn't hurt anything that those guys have struggled. It's just that it's different guys at the top of the class. If you were excited about the idea of the Steelers drafting Drew Aller, you should be equally excited about the idea of the Steelers drafting Ty Simpson. Like, it's just a different name.
Yeah.
It's the same. It's the same theory.
Yeah, I mean,
which, by the way, was my answer always to people who this offseason said, you don't know, it's so far away. It's like, if it looks like a good class on paper, it'll probably end up being a good class on paper in reality, even if all the guys that you think will get there don't make it. Because frequently that happens and people come up. Guys get better.
Yeah. Take 3 of the names that you just brought up there and swap them with Ty Simpson, Dante Moore, and how do you pronounce Mayava at USC, who's probably looking like a top 15 to 20 pick right now.
Yeah. And so John Mateer, I don't think anybody was talking about anywhere near the first round, and is now sort of hovering in that like round 1, round 2 area. The one guy who's kind of right where we thought would be is Garrett Nussmeier. He's been very consistently himself. It's not great, but
he's been there. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, so I think.
What do you make of the kid at Duke, Mensa?
I've been told that people in the NFL don't think he's coming out, and therefore have kind of not ignored, but are not paying close attention to him. But look, I think he's playing well enough that he has a legitimate decision to make.
Yeah. I kind of just started to look at him a little bit. I think it was Nick Martin, who's a really good follow on Twitter for college prospect stuff, threw his name my way. So I started to look at him a bit more. All right, let's get to a question or two here. That's more of just the comments. Okay, this is good from Dave here, who has maybe an opposing viewpoint as to something that you said on the Stop Riding the Roller Coaster episode of Morning Rush today. Hey, Alan, I'm starting to take offense when I hear you say this is not that good of a team. Seeing this team shut down the best running back in the league, dominate their very good offensive line with a huge step forward, in my opinion. All the amusement park media and fans don't see the nuances that I can see. I keep watching the growth of Rome and Calvin, those two to be very dynamic for our team's speed. At wide receiver is way better. Go and look at the old comment section at the Depot and read my belief in the potential of Pierre after his first season, which he saw just a few snaps late in that season. This might be the best iteration of the Steelers in the last 7 years. Player leadership is better than that team led by Ben in the Browns playoff debacle. 38 snaps for James Pierre, by the way, in 21.
I do think this is the best version of the Steelers in several years. I mean, I don't know if it's better than 2020. It's certainly better than every team since then. Wouldn't you agree with that?
I would actually take it over 2020, but I think, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I just think it, other than 2020, it's kind of a no-brainer, right?
Right, sure.
And so, yeah, I agree with all that. That doesn't make it a Super Bowl contender, though. I mean, if you're outside the top 4 or 5 in Super Bowl odds, you're a real long shot. I mean, that's just the way it goes. Now, long shots pay off, but when you're talking about whether or not you should, when you're talking about basing decisions on those chances, people should be looking at the Steelers team as a non-entity in the Super Bowl, that they don't really have a chance and that they should make decisions accordingly. Doesn't mean it can't happen, but making decisions on, what are they, 100 to 1, 75 to 1, something like that, to win the Super Bowl. Making decisions on a 75 to 1 long shot is really dumb. Like you will lose everything betting on that. Both betting and both.
Yeah, they moved to they're 70 to 1 today. That's the best you can get them at, is 70 to 1.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, if you're making decisions thinking that a 70-1 long shot might happen, you're making bad decisions. And so that's what I mean by that. Not to say that it can't happen, but that when you're talking about the team and the team making decisions, they need to be making decisions like this is not the year. And they have been.
Yeah. So what I think here is the case of you using words that you feel like accurately depict how the Steelers are represented this year, where even though you're saying you don't think that they're that good of a football team, to you that just means that they're not a Super Bowl contender. You still said playoff team could win a playoff game.
Yeah, I picked them to go 11-6 and win a playoff game. I don't think they're a bad team.
Right. I think using the words not that good of a football team to some people might not accurately portray how you feel like the results are going to play out.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, they're a good team. This is a good team. They're not a Super Bowl contender. Even though they just beat, on paper, the best team in the AFC. I will bet a lot of money that when we get to the end of the year, the Colts are not the best team in the AFC also. I mean.
Yeah.
You ain't keeping the Chiefs and the Bills down that long. Ravens are coming too. I mean, they got a long way to go. They probably won't get there record-wise. But I ain't picking the Colts to go to the Super Bowl. I'll tell you that.
Well, they didn't bet money, but they made a very different type of bet.
Yeah, yes. Yeah. See, the Colts are in much better position than the Steelers are right now, and I think the Colts made a stupid decision thinking they're Super Bowl contenders when they're really not. So the Steelers are a whole layer removed from that.
I am so curious as to what happens this offseason with Daniel Jones in a contract there.
I mean, he's got so much leverage now. I don't know. Yeah, it's crazy.
All right. We obviously have a ton more stuff that we could get to, but we're already at 32 minutes here. Tomorrow we got DB on here. We're going to preview and predict this game against the Los Angeles Chargers. Very excited for this one on Sunday Night Football, which I don't know if you saw this. 4-6, the Steelers are in their last 10, and they're 6-9. Not nice. In their last 15 on Sunday Night Football.
Yes, but go check out Joe Morrison's article about they've been much better on the West Coast lately. They haven't lost a West Coast game since 2018, which if you had asked me, the Steelers do well on the West Coast under Tomlin, I would have said, nah, not really. But it's been a while. They've actually done quite well. So,
well, one of the games that they lost the Chargers in LA was 2021 on Sunday Night Football.
21, that was the last. Was that the Ben comeback game?
Yep.
Yeah, I think that was the last one. That was the last one they lost.
Okay.
And the one before that was the Raiders X-ray game.
Oh, gosh. Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, that's a long time ago, though.
They've definitely been better recently. I mean, that was a massive talking point for a long time.
Yeah, they won both games in Vegas. They won in Seattle. They beat the Rams in a game they were not favored the last time we were in LA. So things have been a little better on the West Coast.
Okay, maybe stuff to keep in mind when we're making our predictions tomorrow. We will do that again. DB will be here as well. Alan, tell the people they can find you until we get there.
Saunders_PGH on social media. SteelersNow.com is where the written words are. Go there and read them. So especially that column because it is long and I spent a lot of time on it. And sign up for SN Plus. I thought about making it Plus, but I really just wanted that to get out to as many people as possible because it just felt like it was like a PSA more than anything. Did get a request here from Ray Manzarek for some more draft content. We do have a bunch of draft content over at SteelersNow.com. We do not have any exclusive draft content here on the YouTube channel.
I think Ray's the one that tells me every 4 or 5 comments that I need to get a girlfriend.
Ray also will be very upset that I said the Steelers are not Super Bowl contenders. That is a big sticking point with our friendly Raymond. But nonetheless, there's a bunch of that over there as well, if that's your thing. And sign up for SN Plus, and you get all the best stuff from me, DB, Brandon, and the rest of the Steelers Now team, and access to our subscribers-only live stream, which will be coming up later this month, and ad-free reading at SteelersNow.com, which is truly the best part. You try to read that 2,200-word article with the ads, it's going to take you 4 days.
Oh,
And then Anyone can like, subscribe, hit that bell for notifications here on the YouTube channels. We continue to grow this show and all the rest of our shows to a bigger and bigger audience. Smitty, where's our number?
We are at 16,900, and not that long ago in a Steelers uniform, but actually playing pretty well in Tennessee. Dan Moore, 65.
John Jackson was the starter on the Super Bowl 30 team at left tackle, one of the best left tackles in Steelers history. That is a position of historical weakness for the club.
Yeah.
Trying to come up with a more obscure one, but
that's really interesting, isn't it? Like the most important position on the offensive line for such a historic organization with such rich history and tied for being the most successful. Not a great history.
No,
one spot.
Not great at all. I mean, it's John Jackson, Tunch Ilkin, and then it's like Starks, like probably in the conversation. Guys in the 70s, maybe Larry Brown,
Marvell.
Yeah, Marvell. Yeah, I mean, there's not a ton of them that have really.
I mean, Al Villanueva's probably top 5.
Yeah, absolutely. Trying to think about. There's got to be a more recent one. Like right before Dan Moore. Who would have been 65 right before Dan Moore? But I can't think of who that would have been.
Gerald Hawkins.
Ah, there you go. Good old Hawk. Was he 65 or 64?
I don't know. Listen to 65 for all of 2017 to 2020.
Okay.
On here.
All right. Yeah. There you go.
So
65.
All right, let's keep growing that number. Again, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Hit us in the comments your thoughts, anything that we talked about today, question for a future episode, all that good stuff. And if you're listening somewhere else, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast from, leave us a 5-star review and subscribe over there. Just search Steelers Afternoon Drive. Do the same thing on TikTok, and you'll find me everywhere, Zachary Smith, PGH. For Alan Saunders and myself, thanks for jumping in. Take another ride on the Steelers Afternoon Drive.